Hello, my name is Ty Bacani, and welcome to the panel on the how-tos to excel in a police officer training academy and for a successful career in law enforcement. Today we welcome officers from Cranston, Central Falls, Smithfield, and Rhode Island College. Questions will be presented by Justice Studies students in Rhode Island Justice Studies programs. This panel discussion is being filmed at Rhode Island College's Multimedia Production Studio in conjunction with Rhode Island College Film Society. Welcome, and let's get started on the introductions.
Hi, I'm Sergeant Nicholas DiCarlo from the Central Falls Police Department. I've been a police officer for 12 years. Prior to becoming a police officer, I was a corrections officer for 2 years.
Hi, I'm Lieutenant Orlando Braxton. I'm with the Smithfield Police Department. I'm in my 26th year of service. I currently serve as a patrol commander in the overnight shift.
Hello, I'm Officer Patricia Blake. I work for Rhode Island College Campus Police. I was formerly with the Providence Police Department for 30 years.
Hi, I'm Officer Brandon Scotti. I'm with the Cranston Police Department, and I've worked in the patrol division for the past 11 years.
My name is Priscilla. I'm a senior at Rhode Island College studying justice.
I'm Ava Nunez, and I'm a freshman at Rhode Island College studying Justice Studies.
How important is diversity within the police force, and how does it impact community relations?
I believe diversity is very important in any police force.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in Cranston, we have a very diverse population. A lot of times there's calls that involve, people who only speak Spanish, and sometimes, or calls where a lot of non-English speakers, and there's a lot of times we have to call over to Providence or call, officers who do speak Spanish over to the scene, and it seems like we never have enough officers who, might be bilingual. So I think it's very important, and again, just to connect with the people who you're serving, to have a diverse force, I think it's very important.
I think diversity in the police department is essential. As Officer Scotti said, a lot of times we go to different calls for service with people who maybe speak different languages or look differently, and it's important that the police department be able to reflect the diversity that's within the community. Myself, working in a department in a primarily Hispanic area, we rely on those officers and officers that speak different languages and can relate to those populations all the time. Because obviously within different cultures have different tendencies or customs maybe, or things that maybe can be more relatable to a person of that culture. Even just building a rapport with people in that nature of different ethnicities or communities or cultures or that, but it's definitely important to have a diverse police department.
What ways do police departments recruit a diverse department, and how does your city recruit?
So we recruit in different ways by coming to colleges and doing forums like this. We spend a lot of time both online, but also the importance of showing up on campuses in person and having discussions with students. I mean, the best way to recruit is to reach out and actually have interactions with people and conversations. That's the best way to recruit.
We've done some recruiting efforts the last couple cycles where we've actually had different sites throughout the community, whether it be at gyms like Edge, coffee shops, wherever. But we want to get out and, reach the public, interact with as many different members as we can. So those sites that we go to, they're posted all throughout the city. So we try to hit on all different populations.
My police department, obviously social media is huge now. Everybody has social media, even just to stay up on their news, sports, you name it. So why should recruiting for a police department be any different? So obviously we're big on social media with advertising or recruiting for that matter. Also, we've done things like shop promotional videos and things that we can post up on the social media. But we've also done things, like the lieutenant said, go to colleges, just be visible, be available for people to speak to. Students like involved in the criminal justice program may have questions or stuff, and you just being available to speak to them candidly is big in recruiting.
Thank you very much.
My name is Adam Aljalad. I am 19 years old and I'm a sophomore in Rhode Island College.
My name is Farah Awad. I'm 20 years old. I'm a senior at Rhode Island College in the Justice Studies program.
How do you ensure that your written reports are clear and concise, and do you guys use AI?
So as far as AI and report writing, it's not something that we're utilizing right now. I can't speak to every department, but pretty much every department's wearing body cameras now too. There's surveillance cameras everywhere that you go. So if I'm writing a report, I want to make sure that I'm getting my story across and my recollection of events, the way it played out. I'm not going to rely on AI to do that, to convey what I saw and my interactions. The other way to make sure that you're writing clear, concise reports is if there's multiple officers involved on the call, usually there's the first report and then supplemental reports. So everyone's kind of putting their 2 cents into what had happened. And a lot of times we'll just kind of proofread each other's reports too, go through it. There might be stuff that we missed that, that another officer's putting in their report. So you don't want tons of overlap. You don't want it to be too superfluous. You want just what you need to get across in the report.
So I don't really see any use for AI. Only sense I would say AI would make sense is if it's more of like a proofread or if you had an issue with grammar. But as far as like what Officer Scotty just said, you're going to tell your story. So, to have someone else rewrite it, whether it be a computer or someone else, wouldn't be proper, and it certainly wouldn't be what you would want, because you need to tell a story that came from you. And AI could be used as a tool, just as like we use spell check. That was the only really thing I could see AI being useful for in police work.
I was actually going to ask that next. Do you see it eventually coming in or being of any use?
Yeah, only as a tool. Only, like I said, it's similar to if you were to proofread and use that in that sense, but pretty much you're going to be typing out or somehow recording the events that you saw.
Okay, thank you.
In addition, I think a big thing, at least that I'm sure we've all had them, or at least I still have mine, is refer to your notes. So I'll have my little notebook in my pocket here when I'm on scene doing something. I'm writing things down, because when you try to remember too many things at once, you may forget. So you want to take good notes on scene. Rereading your reports is obviously big, because I'm sure when writing papers, you reread it once or twice to make sure that what you're trying to say is communicated well. Mm-hmm. But lastly is knowing the purpose of the report you're writing. So now you can hone in on the specifics that you need to make sure is in there. When you know the purpose of what you're writing, whether it be an accident report, an incident report, for any varying crime, knowing specifically what the target of that report is makes a big difference.
Thank you.
What do you recommend to students who need to stay, for example, in like a neutral stance in a situation without involving your personal beliefs? Because I know that's definitely something that you have to do every single day. So how do you maintain that? Like, how do you do it?
I think if you look at it from the perspective of we have to be neutral, we obviously have our feelings one way or another on an issue, but when we come to work, we put the uniform on, it doesn't matter. Everything gets put aside. We have to be neutral. We have to be, in essence, we got to be behind the law. Whatever the law states, we're here to enforce the law. Obviously, we're going to have common sense. We're going to have feelings, but the most important part for us is to not take sides. It's just to do the job the way it's supposed to be done.
I think not to take things personal too, right? You gotta remember that most of the time when we're responding to a scene, it's that person's probably worst day that's going on. So a lot that they're saying, doing, they're acting, you can't take it personally at all. It's not towards you, it's towards whatever situation they were dealing with prior to us getting there. So I think as long as you can do that and you don't make anything personal, it goes a long way in helping with that.
It's a great question, and I truly believe that my experience has been my training and how you rely on that. But when you're at a call and you're the officer that's going to be the officer of record, there's a lot of things going on. It's very important that you're controlling the situation, but also that you're seeing nuances like what's going on here, what's happening here, to make sure that people's the grievance or whatever the issue is, that you're solving it. So you really aren't in that zone or thinking, you're almost organically reacting to what's happening there. And the better your training, the more you're just going to have a positive result, because you're seeing people on a really bad day most of the time. They're having an issue, and my job as a police officer is to have you safe, and whatever your grievance is to solve it as best I can on at that scene. And there are other officers that will probably be there, but you're really busy, and it's not personal at all, and you're just recording and helping. And it is a great question. Thank you for asking that.
I think also time and experience doing the job make it easier. So things like that, staying neutral and things become easier as you get more experience. Obviously, the rookies may struggle with some things like that or take things to heart or in that nature, but the more time you get on, and it becomes easier, and your job is very clear on what you're supposed to do. Every one of our departments has a book of policies that is thousands of pages long. It's very, very clear which way you're supposed to do your job. But I definitely think time and experience helps with that.
Thank you. So as I'm sure you know, AI has become very popular now because technology keeps advancing. But of course, there are skills that we still need to have as humans that we can't get from technology. And so, like, what do you think is the most important way to get those skills, especially in your workforce?
So, again, going back to it, I don't think anybody wants a RoboCop out there. I don't think anyone wants, some sort of machine responding to calls. I think one of the biggest skills that you can have as an officer is probably empathy, to be honest. Even this morning, prior to coming here, simple well-being check I had. Someone was laying out on the bench for a while. She was cold. Woke her up. She went across the street to Dunkin' Donuts, got her a coffee while she was waiting for a ride. Again, AI, if you're working off a script, it's not going to tell you that's what you should be doing, right? So again, like Sergeant Takalo was saying, we have our policies, our procedures in place, but a lot of this job is interacting with the public. And every interaction is going to be different, and every interaction is going to yield a different response. And I don't think you can rely on AI to tell you how to do that job.
I think having good critical thinking skills, being able to analyze. I mean, the job can be simple, but also can be complex. So you're going to really have to, dissect. There's times you have to dissect the law. You have to open the law book, and you have to, kind of figure out, does this apply to this investigation? And AI isn't going to help you do that. It's going to be you have years on the job of an understanding that some investigations are complex, some situations are complex. Sometimes you are the arbitrator between two parties, and you have to be neutral. But at the same time, you have to get the facts and information from both people, and make the best decision that you can make on the scene.
And so through all of this, would you say education is the best way to acquire these skills?
I think education is key. Our police department is the only police department in Rhode Island that requires a bachelor's degree. That doesn't mean a bachelor's degree is the end-all police work. It just means that our officers have gone to college and have developed some of the skills that are going to be needed for police work. And we also encourage, and our department, I know there's other departments that do it as well, but you can go back and get your master's for free. So we encourage people to go back and get their master's degree. I mean, why would you not get a free education?
I think going to college is very important. Obviously, it gives you the avenue to work on your skills, reading, writing, things of that nature. Getting a better education, which can make you a better police officer. Once again, I think experience also will teach you the finer things like communication and how to read body language and things like that. Those are just all personable skills that, I mean, maybe have to be worked on a little bit more now that technology is so used, and things like AI or social media, where I feel like person-to-person communication has struggled to continue to improve over the years, where more people can talk to people on a phone or on the computer rather than in person. They struggle, but college gives you the avenue to do it in a safe environment where you can get better at public speaking, because let's face it, sometimes as a police officer, you have to go to scenes or stuff like that, calls where you have to control that scene. If you have kind of a fear of public speaking, it's going to be kind of hard for you to command that and portray confidence. So I think being in college, my road was a bit different. I started out in college, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I eventually got into law enforcement prior to graduating, but I had recently went back to college and got my bachelor's degree from Roger Williams. So it's definitely important, and it will definitely give you a leg up if that's the career that you're looking for.
So my name's Troy Morgan. I'm a senior at Rhode Island College. I'm going for a bachelor's in criminal justice and a minor in sociology.
My name is Reem Saeed Awad. I am studying in the master's program at Rhode Island College in Justice Studies. So I've been listening to everything you have said today, and everything has been amazing, and I thank you for it. But I wanted to just touch on something that you said, Orlando. You're talking about the masters that your department is having or allowing people to get for free. How do you think a master's in justice studies serves within your department, or serves the person that gets that degree?
So I think, especially with the master's degree, I would say it translates better if you are looking to move up, if you want to become a patrol commander, a captain, deputy chief in chief. I think the foundation of, excelling in police work and moving through the ranks starts in college. It starts with a master's degree.
And how does that translate in pay? Does it make a big difference for a student? Because I'm sure a lot of people want to weigh, what this does for them financially.
So for us, it doesn't. There's no financial gain having a master's. However, it does allow you to get an extra point for promotional time. So it does help promotional-wise, and it's an extra advantage.
So for my department, there is a pay incentive, whether it's your bachelor's degree or your master's degree. Obviously, there's an amount for a bachelor's, and then you get even more for having a master's. So for having additional education, those degrees, which can only be a good thing. The more training and education you have can only make you better. It's usually not going to get worse from any more education. But obviously, as the lieutenant said, as you want to progress in this career, if you want to aspire to be a supervisor or a commander or work any sort of those different units as you go up, it makes yourself more marketable to have that education comparatively to somebody that doesn't.
Thank you.
What were some of the challenges you guys have faced as officers in training?
So I think the academy does a great job preparing you for what you're going to encounter, but there are so many variables when you're actually out in the field from call to call. And so I think a lot of the challenge is just keeping an open mind, realizing you're going to make mistakes, and that's okay. That's what you'll learn from. And as long as you have good FTOs, good support systems around you, they keep helping you grow and learn as an officer. But I think that's the biggest thing to keep in mind, is that 11 years on, and there's still some situations I'll come across that I haven't experienced before. Because like I said, it's a very unique job in that sense. So I think just experience, being out there and having good FTOs, good supports around you.
I think challenges, whether you're talking about the academy or actually being on the job itself, they vary because this job demands a lot from you, whether it be in that academy, whether it be trying to get hired, getting in the academy, or afterwards training. It can be a job that can pull you away from your family for long hours, from holidays, weekends. So that's definitely a challenge. It's not only a challenge for you, but it's a challenge to your family and close ones who maybe have to see you a little bit less than they're used to. Some of the other challenges are just, I mean, obviously physically, you're going to do a lot of physical training in the academy. You can prepare for that, but it's also, I think, some of the other challenges, you'll see some things that maybe you weren't necessarily prepared for, that you can no matter what you think getting into this job, you tell yourself you're prepared to see, but then when they happen in front of you, or you have to go to calls that are very sensitive or where bad things happen, on some levels training does help with that, but on some levels it does not. So, and only time and experience can help with that. So those are definitely some of the challenges, at least that I relate to.
I think another challenge, right? Kind of going off what the sergeant was saying, those calls that you go to, because there are some that they're going to impact you, and some will stick with you a little bit longer. Being able to be vulnerable, knowing when you might want to talk with someone about certain calls that you've been on, it's a huge help. On my department, I'm part of the peer support team. It's something I firmly believe in. I don't think we do it enough in this job. I think we shoulder a lot of stuff. We take on burdens, and you kind of go out there and you're expected to solve issues. That's why people call you. So to show that vulnerability, it's not something that we're comfortable with. And I think we have to get a little better, and I think that's a challenge for a lot of guys in the department, is realizing, all right, maybe this is a little bigger than what I thought it was. Maybe I do need to talk about it with somebody. And we're not the mental health professionals. We just try to get them connected with those people to look out for them.
The thing, too, is that you in a short period of time, you're going to really have a condensed program that's going to see if we're going to turn the heat up and see how you react to that as best they can. And you're going to have a written part of it to, see how you are absorbing all the bylaws of the particular city. And I had been through basic training with the Army, and I was, I got this. This is so easy. And when I started the academy, I was on my heels, and I said, oh my gosh, this is really, really intense. So they have a way of really kind of, getting into the nitty-gritty to make sure you're okay, and your judgment, and try to turn, it's some of its scenarios and other things, but you're really, you go from doing something physical to a classroom to, you're going to go out for, your run, come back in, and then there's always, like, for me, they always have the surprise, and then we would all judge each other on, hey, how did you handle that? What were you doing? And there were 50 in my academy, and we were very, very close at the very end. And the seasoned officers that were on the street, our training officers, the bottom line was they want you to excel. When you go out into the city of Providence, they want to provide the best trained, the best officers that they can in a very short period of time, because there's always a need, there's always a shortage, and people are burnt out, and you need to get out there. And the camaraderie within that environment, just like with the basic training, but it was much, much more intense. And if I really can't even to this day say how they really turned the heat up like that, but you could tell. And we all, if someone was having an off day, or we were just really there for each other, and try, if someone was struggling with any of the study material or learning the bylaws, we would make sure that everybody was okay. And we were a very, very close group of people, and that carried on out to the street, so that if you're on a call and you might be struggling a little bit, or there's a lot of things going on, you just really felt that your brother and sister officers have your back, and that you're there for the people. You're a better officer for the public that you're going out to serve, and you really want to help them as best you can and solve whatever issue they're having in a very safe, and effective way.
Do you guys have any challenges that come home with you? And if so, how do you deal with that?
So again, kind of going back to my earlier response with certain calls that stick with you a little bit more. For me, again, just another personal anecdote. I had just come back from a paternity leave with my first daughter. She was born, and I went to an infant death, a sudden one, and it hit home a little different that time. Being a father with a young one. So, and that's when I really, again, started buying into, I reached out to the peer support team, found myself getting on the peer support team, realizing that, yeah, sometimes you do take a little bit of it home. You try not to. And again, when it feels like it's a little too much, those supports should be in place in a department. Any good department is going to look out for their officers because they know what kind of calls we're dealing with. You wear a lot of different hats in this profession, and you see a lot of different things day to day.
Yeah, I think challenges you bring home are, this job will change you in some fashion. If it doesn't, I don't know, it definitely certainly does. Is continuing to be the person that you should be at home as well, and not letting the stresses of work affect your home life, whether it be with your partner, your kids, your family, friends, anything like that. Because most of the time those people aren't police officers, so they can't necessarily relate. They see you, but they don't necessarily know what you've been doing all day, or been to some of these stressful situations, not just situations involving deaths or things like that with children, or but even situations where you have to fight with people, or where people are less than friendly to you. We're human beings. That naturally can take a toll on you at some point, or even can leave you frustrated and maybe angry. And I think it's important that you try to leave that at work and make home, or even if you know how to communicate that effectively. Like, so if I'm home with my wife and I tell her I've had a tough day at work, I just need a little bit of time just to decompress, and then to get back into it before you get home and start laying out all your problems, which they're not necessarily going to be on the same level to understand, because they haven't. My wife works in an office. Nobody yells at her all day, So I think just being able to communicate at home can kind of help you get through some of those issues and challenges or things from the job.
So I know earlier we spoke about diversity and inclusion at work, but it was predominantly, I feel it was taken as like racial or ethnicity. How about when it comes to women in your field? What would you say to the women that are studying that would like to enter law enforcement? How difficult, what kind of difficulties do you see in there, and how inviting are the men? This is a dominantly man job, so how do you think, what should women be looking for, and how inviting is it of an environment? I know it's a tough question because you don't want to out your departments, but it also could be a positive one.
For me, I think a good officer, regardless of race, regardless of gender, a good officer who is willing to step up when asked. I mean, I've seen a female officer I worked with, who I now serve in patrol with. I would take her over anybody. Like, she would step up and handle any call just like anybody would. And for me, it doesn't really matter. It's just who can do this job. Mm-hmm. And if you can do this job, whether you're female, male, it doesn't matter to me. I just want to know that I can count on you. And I certainly work with some females who, they're better than the guys. So I have no problem saying that.
I think the same, along the lines of the same. As a supervisor for patrol, I don't care if you're male or female, white, black, Hispanic, doesn't matter, as long as I can trust you to do your job or do what I'm asking you to do when it's time to do it. But obviously, males and females may tend to do the job a little bit differently, and that's okay, because we deal with a diverse population, and we deal with all different situations where a female may be better handling a certain situation than a male. And that comes up often, and I'm sure you guys can think of several different instances where in your department you've said, hey, maybe let me utilize a female officer that may be able to speak to this person a little bit better, or get the information, or, but that's also not to say that the females are not capable of just doing exactly like the lieutenant said, is being very hands-on, very capable, and that you wouldn't take them in any situation. So I think it all just matters on that person themselves and their capability to do the job in general when called upon.
Yeah, I think it, again, you look for confidence in an officer, right? They trust that they can do the job. They trust their ability to do it, whether it's male, female. Like the sergeant was saying, numerous times I've had female officers on scene with me, and they've helped situations go a lot smoother than it would have went otherwise. So, yeah, I think we're very welcoming in our department. It sounds like, you know, I think the majority of the departments are too.
What do you think, Patty? How was it? How was your experience?
I love, I love the answers, and they probably were worried that I might turn on them. If but it's you do. Everybody brings their own personality into that call. You can't help it. It's your call. If it's assigned to you, you're running the show, and you know, as you're starting out, and I felt. I didn't expect this when I started out, is I had so much support from the male officers. Like they wanted you to be like the best, and if they would have to control themselves a little bit more, because if somebody takes me a little bit longer, to get to where we want it, but we're going to get to the same at the very end, and it's. Just for me personally, maybe other female officers didn't have it that way, but I was a little bit slower with that. And if anybody were to, step in front of me and just sort of, box me out, I would have brother officers who were like, "Hey, this is Patty's call. Just step aside." And really, that brotherly love, and for the sisters too, is that it's so important to have that, and it just happens, and you're in there, and people feel it, and they know, if someone comes in, I'm not going to talk to you, I want to talk to him. I respect that. I'll just stand down, and we're in your home, and you're not comfortable with me, go for it. And you can't take things personally. And it can happen for a lot of different reasons. And we're a team when we go in, and we're going to be a team when we get out. And I had very positive experiences.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching. We hope you've enjoyed our how-to video. We thank the officers for their generous time and insights into their profession. For further questions, please contact Dr. Jill Harrison at the Justice Studies program at Rhode Island College. As always, feel free to reach out to the officers and ask them about recruitment opportunities.